This is known as the hot shot. Created by the great Daryl, is one of the flashiest and most visual ways to produce a car. Hi, my name is Josep Vidal, and for the last 16 years I've been learning, creating and performing magic all around the world. And in this video I will share with you not only how to learn this move in no time, but also how to incorporate it into your cardistry or magic routines to make your car magic look more professional and visual. So if this sounds good to you, get your deck of cards, sit down, and let's get into it. So before we get into the tutorial, I would like to share with you some of the tips that come from my experience learning this type of moves that I hope will make your learning process a lot less frustrating and faster. And I would like to start it by recommending you, in case you are a beginner or have zero idea on how to perform this type of moves, to go through this tutorial, try to see how far it is from your expectations and expertise. And once you're done, then go straight into this tutorial I let you hear about how to perform one-handed cuts. There I teach you the basic one-handed cuts, like for example the Charlier cut that I'm doing now, or the revolution cut like this. The reason why I'm saying that, it's because a lot of the mechanics from these basic cuts are somehow shared in this hot shot tutorial that I'm doing. So if you want to take my advice, I would recommend you to start from there, but there's no rules on that. If you want to go straight into this one, good luck. I hope I'll bring all the tools and information you need to learn it very fast. So again, I would recommend you to go through this basic one-handed cut tutorial that you will see also attached in the description. And once you're done, then come back here. I would like to continue by letting you know that there's two ways in which you can learn this move. There's a more direct version, which is skipping some of the steps from the original one, that let's say it's more direct and easygoing. But from my point of view, it's not as accurate, and depending on when and how we do it, the moves tend to look choppy or not as accurate. So I would recommend you to stick into the original one, which is the one I'll be teaching you here. And then once you master it, you can explore many other ways according to what you want to perform and how best suits your personality and style. Finally, I would like to close this section by sharing with you the way I would approach this tutorial. Since there's many processes and details we have to talk and break down, I would recommend you to take this tutorial, as you will see in a minute, by blocks. What I mean by that is that first, I would recommend you to master the cut itself. And then once you master the cut, you can go straight and explore how to shoot the car into the direction you want. And once you master both, then you can put everything into sequence, so you will see that your learning process will be a lot faster and more efficient. So now that I shared the tips and relevant information I wanted you to know, let's move on to a tutorial. So to perform the hot shot, since we have to explain a lot of processes and a lot of details that we have to grasp and describe, what I'm going to be doing is to breaking down basically in two blocks. The first one is when I'm going to be teaching you how to perform the one-hand cut that looks like so. And after that, we're going to be focusing more on how to shoot the car in the direction we want it to go. Then we're going to put everything into sequence so we have a good understanding on how everything works, so we can practice it over and over until we master the move. So starting by the first block, where we're going to see how to perform the one-hand cut, we're going to begin by grinding the deck into what's known as a starter grip that looks like this. You can also start from a Charlier cut position, but I would recommend you to stick into the straddle grip, because like this, from a muscle memory point of view, we make sure that there's no way we can get confused and then instead of just performing the hot shot, perform the Charlier cut by accident. So from a straddle grip position, what we're gonna do is to split the deck in two packets. I would recommend you two things here. First, when you split the packet by hooking it with the tip of our index finger like so, I'll recommend you, if you're a beginner, to make your life easier, is to create a bottom packet that is slightly thicker than the one on top. Later you will see that with the rotations we're gonna do, it will be a lot easier if the top packet is smaller, but if you already feel comfortable, it's approximate, so you can also do it with just half and half approximately. And then the other thing, as we learned in the Charlier cut, is that a lot of people will feel that their hands are too small. But the problem is not the hands, the problem is the positioning of the deck. So what I'll recommend you is to always prioritize a high grip that will give you enough room, as in the Charlier cut, to create the packets you need and then move them around if you want, as a revolution cut, as a Charlier cut, whatever. So for you as a reference, what I recommend you is to always make sure that the bottom car is contacting the base of the tip of your index finger. Like this, you make sure that the grip is high enough for you to have this U-shaped space that I like to call like this. So you have plenty room to create the packet and move it around with no problem. But continuing now with the hot shot, we're gonna split the deck in two packets like this. by hooking with the tip of our thumb against the pinky like so. Maybe from here it doesn't look, but right now I have two separate independent packets. The top one that is being held by the ring, middle and thumb like this, that you can see I can move it. And also the bottom packet being held by the side of the pinky and the tip of my index like this. From here, what we're gonna do is to rotate the bottom packet clockwise by pushing with our index fingers towards ourselves. So what we're aiming is to place the tip of our index finger near to the right corner of the top packet. So whenever we extend it, we automatically transfer the grip. And what we are now doing basically is to grab two packets and having both with the index as a pivot point. And from here, what we're gonna do now is to transfer the top packet and counterclockwise by pushing with the middle and the ring finger. So what we're aiming now is to engage with the thumb. So now the transfer of the top packet change, having the index finger as a pivot point, and now the thumb that will allow us to continue the rotation we just started. So in the meantime, what we're gonna do is to curl our pinky, middle and ring finger, so we're helping ourselves to finish the rotation of the top packet and now be in the perfect position to take it below. So once we're here now, we can just remove the pinky that is sandwiched in between the two packets and complete the cut by squaring it back with the starter grip. So again, as a review, we're gonna split the deck in two packets like this. Then we push the tip of our index fingers towards ourselves. So now once we are in the right corner of the top packet, we extend the index fingers, so we automatically transfer the grip. Now start the rotation of the top packet counterclockwise, so we can engage with the tip of our thumb and continue the rotation while also curling the pinky, the ring and the middle finger. So we are allowing ourselves to continue the rotation and put us in the perfect position to take the top packet below. So now we just change the position of the packets and finish the cut and retake it with a starter grip like this. So once we understand the mechanics on how to perform the one-hand cut, we're gonna focus now on how to shoot it as we want to. And for this, first we need to notice that our index finger is now sandwiched in between the top and the bottom packet we just created. And where we're aiming here is to pull out the bottom card of the top packet like so. To do this is as simple as contacting the bottom card with the very tip of our index finger. So once we extend it by friction, we're automatically pulling it out. And once it's fully extended, you can see that we're finishing in this kind of pistol position. And from here, then we want to work on how to create the tension needed for us to get the car shoot as we want, and how with our wrist add the momentum so we can direct the car in the direction where we want it. And to create the tension that will force the cars to get shoot and rotate, we need to now engage our middle finger that will be bending the car like so. And because it's somehow trapped in the middle of the deck, once we pull it in this light but fast touch, it will force the car to get shoot and spin like this. So again, getting in position, we're here with our tip, dragged the bottom car out, creating this pistol shape. And now involve our middle finger that will bend the car, creating this tension that once it's released, as if it will be a trigger, will force the car to get shoot. So without a car, the middle finger is doing this. The amount of pressure you have to apply, it is really hard to describe, so I would recommend you to explore it by yourself because it's more kind of a feeling thing. So it doesn't matter how much info I give you. Here, the best way for you to understand it is by doing it yourself and see how fast, how much pressure you should apply. But if you want some approach or some advice, it's just have a balance of a light touch while also making a fast motion like this. Basically, this is what I'm doing when I'm performing the shot. So again, once we're here, we pull the car out by dragging it with the tip of our index finger like this. And from here, engaging now with our middle finger, we just pull the trigger and get the car shot like this. So once we understand how to shoot it, to direct the car as we want it, we need to keep in mind that our wrist will be important here to add the momentum that will give direction that in coordination with how much pressure we do will force the car to go into the direction where we want to. And for that, what I personally do is to add a wrist motion like this that is kind of a rotation towards me that will force the car to get going into this horizontal direction to my left hand. It also depends on how much pressure you apply, but once you have the light touch that it's comfortable for you and that is secure, you will see that you barely need just a little move of the wrist to make it go straight into the other hand like this. And again, getting into the shooting position by adding now a wrist motion and also keeping in mind the angle in which we shoot the card in, we make it go in the direction we want it, in this case from one hand to the other. To make sure that the shot will be as parabolic as possible, I will also recommend you to not only add the wrist motion that gives direction, but also an upward motion with your arm that will force the car to go as parabolic as possible, giving us a lot more time and delay the time that the car gets shoot from our right hand and land on our left hand like this. And now that we understood how to perform the one-handed cut and how to shoot the car as we want it, it's now to put everything into a sequence. And basically, as a review of all what we just saw, what we're gonna start is with the starter grip, split the packet by the tip of our index finger, rotate the top packet in a counterclockwise to engage the thumb, so we can continue the rotation and having the index finger as a pivot point, curling the bottom packet with our pinky finger like this, so we can now place the top packet below and sandwich, as we can see, the index finger in between the two packets. So from here, now we need to pull the bottom card out by dragging it out with the tip of our index while extending it. And once we are in this gun position, what we're gonna use now is our middle finger as a trigger. So we'll create the tension to get the car shoot and go to the direction we want it, and playing with the angles and adding the wrist motion to make sure the car lands where we want to. So these are all the details and information you need to know to perform the hot shot correctly. I know that this move is slightly more advanced than what I used to teach, but believe me, if you follow step by step, if you practice and give it a little bit of patience, you'll be able to learn it in no time. But in case you're struggling a lot to learn it, as I said in the before we start section, I'll recommend you to start off by learning the basics, which in this case would be the Charlier cut or the revolution cut, as most of the mechanics I just shared are there and is a lot easier to learn there. So you will see that in the description there's a link to it, so you can just take it at your pace, and if you have any doubts, questions about it, please let me know in the comment section, as I'll be very happy to assist you throughout the learning process. And now, in case you would like to introduce this card production into your cardistry or card magic routines, let's move on to the bonus section. I'd like to start this bonus section by sharing with you how to integrate this card production into a cardistry routine. Here your imagination, creativity and style play a huge role, so feel free to explore it as much as you can, because I'm sure there's many ways in which you can add it in the cardistry moves you're already doing. But if you want to be more guidance, I will show you the way I implement it into the classic cardistry routine I perform whenever I'm practicing. Keep in mind that all the moves you'll be seeing right now are taught in the one-hand cut tutorial that I already made, and you will find it attached in the description. So the cardistry routine I perform looks something like this. So assuming that you know how to do the Charlier cut and the hot shot, basically what I'm doing is to split the packet first with my left hand like this by refilling it, contacting the top packet with my right hand, and once we are here, transfer it so we are both squaring the packet like this. This will be in the mechanics grip, while this one will be in starter grip, because that's the way I start the hot shot. Since getting to the shooting position takes me more time than it takes me to finish the Charlier, something I do is I tend to delay it, or I can also perform it twice, or perform the Charlier with several packets. So from here, what I'm starting first is the hot shot. And once I see that I'm about to get into a position to shoot the car, I start the Charlier that basically is opened, waiting for the car to get land on the left hand. So once I shoot it, I try to look for it and then close it like this. Here in the sequence, something that I'm still not managing to do 100% is to catch the car into the right position so I can just close the packet and square everything back and continue. But something I discover is that by making a more parabolic trajectory, the more I tend to catch the car into the right position. I don't understand why it really works better if you make it more parabolic, but that's a good thing about exploring. So I will invite you to explore as much as you can so you can see and understand the patterns on how to get where you want to be in a more accurate way. Last but not least, I would like to conclude this bonus section by showing you how I personally would introduce this card production into a card effect or a card routine. There's different approaches you can get, but the first and the easiest would be to add this as a card production whenever somebody chooses a card. And then you in the end just produce it, and that's as a whole thing. The second way is to add this into a card production routine where, for example, you control the 4 aces and you start to produce each ace in a different way, aiming to create this kind of increscendo reaction curve. So you start with a production that is not as visual or is not perceived as something impressive, and then each one goes slightly higher, so you create this curve that you are aiming to create. And normally I would add this one as the last one or the third, because I feel that spectators tend to perceive this card production as something very spectacular in terms of sleight of hand and in visual terms also. Deep diving into introducing this card production into any of the card tricks or card routines you're performing, we always have to keep in mind that the card that will be produced is always the card that starts from the bottom whenever we are performing this move. And as an example, we're going to have the King of Clubs so we can track it and see how it ends up in the middle in the perfect position for us to produce it. So as you can see, when I do the one-handed cut, the bottom card here from the bottom packet is placed now on the top. And as you can see now, it's contacting the tip of our index finger. So it's ready here for us to be produced. For the spectators, these one-hand moves and also adding this kind of jumping motions or shooting motions that go from one place to another will always be perceived as something harder to do. So I would recommend you, in case you're adding it into any card production routine, to leave it always by the end. Because if you are starting very strong in the beginning, then it's a lot harder to find card productions that will be as good, so you can keep this curve going up and up. So that was the tutorial. I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it, and if so, please don't forget to give a thumbs up. This will help me a lot. And if you like this type of tutorials, please consider subscribing, as I'll be uploading many of them that will go from basic to intermediate to more advanced, so everybody will have a tutorial according to their level. Now, if you want to keep learning with me, I'm letting you hear this super cool tutorial that I'm sure you will enjoy. And again, thank you so much for watching this tutorial till the end, and I hope to see you in the next one. This is known as the top shot. Goodbye. Joder.